Mike Kern here with Adam Emmenecker for another shoot-around segment. And Adam, we are at the halfway point of the conference schedules. Everybody's played 10 games. Bradley's up on top with a 9-1 league record. Their only loss at second place, Drake, who's at 8-2 and chasing the Braves. We have some separation in the league standings. If you want to talk a little bit to start us off with what we would identify as tiers in the league, top, middle, and the rest of the league trying to get back in it.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, halfway through, Mike, like almost hard to believe, right? But we've had some really good basketball so far, and it's so funny, what you expect to see or what you see after the first few conference games or after the non-conference. As soon as you start to get into meat of the league, your opinions change. Like players change, rotations change. Now is a good time as you get halfway through the conference season, as you mentioned, really just to reflect on, okay, snapshot point in time. Where are we? And I don't think any surprise. You look at the class of the league. It's Bradley sitting at 9-1, Drake at 8-2, and in conference play with those back-to-back losses. Really looking forward to those two getting an opportunity to play in Des Moines here in a few weeks. I think that is going to be a very, very charged game, especially assuming those two take care of business up until then. But it does get a lot tougher as you go through the second half of the schedule. Not only are you seeing teams twice, but it's tired minds, tired legs. It really starts to be a grind over the last few weeks. So curious to see how Drake and Bradley handle that. As I look at kind of that second tier, pretty clear, obviously, Northern Iowa and Belmont both at 7-3. But in some ways, yes, Belmont has been playing a heck of a lot better recently. In some ways, Northern Iowa, I think, could have challenges in the second half of the season. And they have a big week coming up this week, playing in Des Moines against Drake and then hosting Bradley. And we'll see what the news is on Leon Bond. Hopefully he's healthy and can come back, but definitely some challenges for the Panthers. And, as I think about that next group, whether it's UIC, Murray State, Illinois State, Valparaiso, SIU, Evansville, kind of all lumped in there. I think each one of those teams has enough that they can beat anybody on any given night, but we haven't quite seen the consistency. UIC in particular, a winning record at 6-4, but I think still a lot to prove second half of the year.
Yeah, you kind of referred to where I'd like to take you next is replicating the first half into the second half of the season. A lot of that's going to be who you played so far, who you have to play in the second half, who your single plays are. You talked about UNI's upcoming schedule. UIC also has a tough schedule with some of the leaders on the horizon. They're a surprise in the league at 6-4 at the midway point, picked last in the
Yeah.
preseason poll, and they performed way above that. But can they do it in the second half?
Yeah, and Northern Iowa still has to play Drake twice and Bradley twice. So you think of the last 10 games, also add Illinois State into that mix. So you think of those last 10 games, four of those are against teams that you're not going to be favored going into those matchups, whether you're on the road or at home. I think you look at UIC too, coming up a big contest at Bradley this week. So they have to go to Bradley, they have to go to Drake, and have to play at Northern Iowa. I think that's part of the reason you look at those three. UIC probably won't be favored in any of those games. So I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge for the Flames, but pretty impressive what Coach Rob Eson has done. I think the team that I expect to have a better record in the second half than they did in the first half, Illinois State. I think the Redbirds sitting at 4-6, had some tough losses, lost on a couple buzzer beaters, a couple close losses, 4 points both at Drake and at Bradley. Hosting more of those games, host both Drake and Bradley, that Illinois State group, because of Johnny Kinzinger, a lot of depth in the backcourt as well, experience with Dalton Banks and Chase Walker, just as unique a player as there is in the league. I expect Illinois State to be a little bit better than that 4-6 record. They're going to be dangerous down the stretch in league play.
Southern Illinois got off to a rough start. Another team that has been competitive in most games is the team that Illinois State will see this weekend. That's Valparaiso and Roger Powell Jr.'s club. They've been competitive in almost every game. Their record is not as good as they think they should be, but talk a little bit about Valparaiso and the Beacons in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, you look at them losing five in a row and you think, oh, they must be on a tailspin. But I mean, those are all close games. That Valparaiso group is their what we would have seen 10 years ago out of a young team. A lot of players in their first or second year, they're competing, but haven't quite figured out how to win games consistently. We saw it in year one with Coach Roger Powell, getting a little bit better throughout the course of the year, getting a little closer. I expect that in the second half of this year as well. We'll see if Valpo can start to flip some of those into the win column.
And by the time we talk next Monday night into the next week's games, will be 8 games remaining in the conference schedule. The tournament's coming right around the corner. Single session tickets are going to be going on sale later this week for the Arch Madness in St. Louis. It's going to be crazy how fast this goes, and we'll see how teams progress. I mean, a week's schedule can turn your season around. You win 2 games and you're right back in it.
Without question. And like I mentioned, this is when the test of wills kind of starts. And, everybody's motivated, especially the first time through the league play. But, that now players might start getting a little bit frustrated. Bodies are going to start wearing down and getting a little more tired. And I get it. These are college kids. They can play a lot of minutes, but mentally the season is a bit of a drain. We'll see who can live up to that task and continue to tick some of those up in the win column.
Well, looking forward to another exciting week this week. And of course, we'll talk again next Monday night. Thank you, Adam, for joining us again tonight.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, we'll see you.